I'll say,
what's up, guys? You are watching Off Centered. It is Wednesday night. I was going to have Dustin do the intro, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. I've never done this before. I have too many nerves. Anyway, guys, we took last week off.
I don't know if that's how it went.
Yeah, well, here we are. We're live anyway. So,
All right.
guys, we are back Wednesday night Off Centered with Dustin, the artist formerly known as the Personal Finance Dad, currently known as Sports Card Dad. And I guess you're still doing the retro game thing. You just haven't shut down the station.
I'm gonna hold on to it. Why shut it down? No,
Well,
I'll bring it back. I'll be like 60 and retiring, and it'll be like, you know what? It's time to pick up the retro game dad. Although then it'll be antique game dad.
Or I was going to say, now then you would just talk about the games that are out right now. They would just be retro in 20 years.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Something like that. But anyway, guys, we're going to have a great show. We have Marc, a.k.a. Ultimate Pastime Collectibles, Cards and Collectibles. He'll be joining us. He's been in the hobby for 31 years as a dealer and a big staple here in Southern California. So he'll be discussing his experience at the Burbank Card Show, his experience and perspective as a dealer that is on the other end of things, the things he's seeing, the things that he's hearing about the future, and just getting his take on what it's like to be in the hobby from that side. Also have the big Mickey Mantle sale, $12.6 million. We'll go over that and what that means for the hobby, as well as another vault. Beckett has their vault launched, and will that even matter? Who knows? We will see. But y'all know the drill because I haven't done this in a while. Welcome back. Now let's get to work. Let's say hi to a couple of you guys.
After that, I've got a burning question for you. Go ahead. Say hello to some people.
Good to see you, Andrew. Troy, what's up, man? Great to see you. Mike C is always in the house. Always here early on.
When we're both blurred, we both have blurry backgrounds. You know that's where it's pretty low production stuff.
Dude, there's memorabilia all behind me. Can't you guys tell?
All my 52 Tops mantles are just lined up across the way here.
We will get to my Hinge reports coming up shortly because it's been 2 weeks. I have been active in that regard. Great to see you, Brian Sherlin, correct? That's Brian Sherlin behind Helix Band.
Yeah, what's
Crazy
up with
Kev?
Helix Band?
I don't know. Did someone, Brian, why'd you change usernames? Did someone hack into your account or something? Or are you just trying to hide your name?
I don't know if he wants his full name on YouTube anymore.
Is Brian Sherland, Sherland.
In
Brian
Arizona.
with an I.
In Arizona.
Good to see you, Crazy Kev. Yeah, I saw that video just came out, so I haven't checked it out yet, but I was there, so I don't feel like I need to watch myself, and I always cringe when I see myself. Good to see you, Cards to Car, Chris K. Great to see you in the house. Rare cameo, yes, I'll take the rare cameo. That's been my content of this year is cameos on Sports Card Investor videos. Prodigy Card Collector, great to see you as well. Judson in the house. Judson, I know from Santa Monica. I should be going there more often because it's boiling hot here in West Hollywood. It's almost 100 degrees. SDHSF Brules. That's a tough one. You've been day drinking, dude. Like that, your handle makes it sound like you've been day drinking. You know what I mean? It sounds rules.
Like create new account.
Yeah. Good to see you, Rick Lyle. All right, let's go East Coast day drinking. Let's go to what's been up with you. It's been 2 weeks since we've caught up. So what's up in your world?
I mean, just staying busy with family stuff. I was funny though. I was thinking like just a few minutes ago when you were talking about Jeff Wilson, and is it Oppenheimer or the Oppenheim brothers? I met
Oppenheim.
Yeah. So when are you going to be on Selling Sunset? I keep visioning like you being the only male realtor because he's got like, those guys have like all female realtors, and then Brad, because you're like kind of maneuvering in with that crew. And then Jeff Wilson just wants to get some sort of a cameo on there, make his wife happy.
Well, they have the new OC one, and there are a couple guys on that. More likely than being on the show as a realtor would be me popping up on like a date with one of the female ones. I think that would be a cool cameo. If I'm being real, that would be a cool cameo. If it's like, all right, as long as I don't look bad, I have to look charming. I can't look bad. I can't be like, and here's my sports card collection. And she's like, and that's when I ran for the door.
They're like, hey, great news. We got you on the show. The bad news, though, is that the storyline really is going to suck for you. So you're going to come in as a date, but it's going to go down in a ball of fury. It's going to be rough.
No, see, I
You
can't
better do it. No, you have to do it.
No, I don't know. I don't know about that, man. No, it's all publicity is good publicity is not really true, or I'm not gonna rely on that. So
yeah, but that kills your modeling career if you have some weird like story on a show.
I don't know about modeling, but if you're on reality shows, then it's tougher if you want to act. I don't want to act, but it's a really weird thing. But whatever. I mean, just being in the background during one of those transitions where they go from one part of West Hollywood to another, if I'm there walking down the street, that'd be pretty sweet. But anyway, besides that, you've been buying something. You did tell me that you've been picking up some stuff, and you won't say what it is. But of course, I got to ask you for a hint for something. So tell us a bit about what you're.
It's just too niche. That's the problem. Is the stuff that I'm trying to get. There's just not a lot. It's out there. But if I, and not to say honestly, it's not even something where if I said it, people would rush to, to try to get it. I just don't want, there's just so little of it that it wouldn't take that many people to screw it up for me to get the stuff that I want to get. And there's honestly not that much stuff that's out there that, because that I want in particular. So I just can't talk about it. Yeah, but in about 30 days, there will be a 9-part video series all about it. So don't worry, it will come out. I just need to get the stuff before because I think that it's not going to be as affordable. I don't think it's going to go jet mooning. I don't think it's going to be PMG Marvel BS, but I do think it's going to go up in price. And I just don't want to get, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot for no reason. It doesn't make sense.
You want to make sure it goes up in price when you already mention the videos and
and I'm going to disclose. I'll disclose all of it. I'm also going to disclose why people do not touch it. And I'm going to break it all down. Trust me. It's going to be all, it's going to be all set up. It's not going to be buy this now. It's to the moon.
Well, that's never your style. So, okay. Can you give us one hint in terms of year? Maybe not specific year, but range of years.
It's ultra modern. I can modern.
That. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that limits it to last 6 years and 9,000 different products.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've given you all that I can give. It's ultra modern.
But guys, if you can guess what it is, that'd be great. I don't know if Dustin would give it away if he sees it in the answers, but ultra modern, very niche. He believes in it for some reason, but remember, he also believes in Drew Brees cards and Jameis Winston cards, so it doesn't really say much.
You make an excellent point.
Yeah. Jared from Subway Cards. Yeah.
Anyway. A little bit too niche, and I'm not.
That's not. You'd be embarrassed to collect that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been buying cards.
Oh, okay.
Well, hold on. A couple things real quick. We're gonna have Marc on. One, we have a newsletter that Dustin never promotes. I don't think he's promoted it once.
I'm glad you brought it up because I was just about to say something about it.
Okay, what were we gonna say? I think I have.
So Brad's newsletter is now our newsletter. It's the Off-Center newsletter. So I'm kind of contributing to it. It's good times. So it's just it's emails. I'll throw in some tidbits, just random stuff that I don't really share in everyday videos. It's good. So check that out for sure.
Yeah, well, what a great pitch. That was riveting. thecomebackcardinvestor.com or sportscarddad.com. We throw in our insights. We throw in hobby news. It's worth sending us your email. We'll send you some good stuff. We don't spam you once a week, but that would be great. And then dating scene, I saw a couple different questions regarding the Hinge report. Lots of matches, some conversations, but here's the thing. It's just been one date, some interest, but it's just not good enough to have a second date, to be honest. I think that's where I'm at.
What's kind of that roadblock? Because here's the thing I don't really understand. I know LA, you've got all the options and whatever. I've lived in big cities to where there's a lot of options being single, but what doesn't get to that? How come I don't see a lot of movement towards that second, third, fourth date, or just mini relationship? It just seems like a lot of one dates and you're out. Is there what's that red flag or that bucket of red flags that just get you out of there? Or for her. Actually, I already know her red flags about you, but what would be the other way?
You don't even know half the red flags about me. But I will say, the thing is, when you go out with someone, whether doesn't matter if you're a girl going out with a guy or vice versa. Sometimes you're just like, oh, it's worth going out with, but you're just not that attracted to, you're not that connected with. And it's worth the time if you have an open night to meet someone and see if you connect, but not like, wow, I'm going to pursue this when, you know, it's like, yeah, there's the connection is above average. The attraction is above average, but you're not looking for above average. You're looking for an amazing fit. And so I feel like that's where it's been recently. It's just like, yeah, a lot of, hey, you're nice. Let's be in touch, be a friend. We'll hang out from time to time, casually, catch up on life, but not, hey, I really like what's I'm seeing and feeling and all that. Let's keep going. Hasn't been that in a while. So, and LA has too many good options to settle. You get it?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair. All right. Marc's
yeah,
left. So
yeah. Now it is. Oh, sorry, Marc. Sorry, man. It was 11 minutes in. Time flies when we talk about dating and how
it's all good, man. We're here.
We're here. When I have to mention that Dustin doesn't promote our newsletter at all, it really takes up a lot of the
that was
time.
4 minutes of the 11 minutes of Brad crying and whining about the newsletter.
I actually allotted a lot more time than that to complaining about how Dustin doesn't promote our newsletter. So anyway,
you got to get on that, Dustin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, man, change the view, Brad, so we're not like the Three Stooges or the Brady Bunch or whatever. There we go.
There we go. So, Marc, cool. Great having you. We met via Jeremy Lee's live stream right before the Burbank show, and we didn't get to chat too much between us, but obviously if Jeremy likes you and trusts you and has a friendship with you and everything else, then obviously I want to be able to tap into your knowledge and see what you have going on. And plus you're a SoCal guy as well. So sure, tell us a bit about yourself. We're not familiar, and I'm not sure how many people in the comment section know your backstory, but take it from here.
All right, man. So if you see me, first off, my name is Marc Neiman. I own Ultimate Pastime Sports, and we were established in 1991. I started doing this full time as a dealer. I was at a baseball card show, and there was a guy sitting behind his table, and he was all disgruntled, mad at the world. And this is all junk era stuff. So you're seeing boxes and boxes piled up. And the guy's like, $300, take it all. I'm done with this business. And my grandpa looks at me. My grandpa take me to the show. And he said, Marc, do you want it? I said, I do, but Pops, I don't have $300. You know, I was a kid at the time. I was 14 years old. And he basically said to me, you know what? I'll pay for it. And as you sell it, you pay me back. But you got to do things the right way. You need a business checking account, a resale license. You need to start coming back to shows. But if your grades slip, that's it. I'm taking everything back, which I was never really a good student. But this gave me something to like work for, you know, because I really wanted to do this. And if you would have asked me back then if I would have been able to turn a hobby into a career, like I would have said you're crazy, you know. But it's been a wild ride, and here we are.
It's amazing. When did it turn from a hobby into a career? Because we can imagine just a few years ago that could happen for anyone. But when was it first for you? Because was it 25 years ago, 10 years ago?
I would say like in 1991 is when those opportunities arose, man. Like I was doing these shows, and the promoter of the show came up to me and he asked me, hey, Marc, we got Ernie Banks coming in to sign autographs. Do you want to sit and take tickets for him? I said, are you kidding me? Ernie Banks? I'd love to, you know. Ernie Banks is the guy, you know. My mom's from Chicago. My grandfather's from Chicago. I had WGN as a kid. I pretend like I was sick to watch daytime baseball, you know, because it was on here in California, and we got to you know, sit and take tickets for Ernie Banks. So I worked with him for 6 or 8 hours that day. And at the end of the signing, he said, you know what, Marc? He said, I want to invest in you. I said, like, you want to give me money? What do you mean? He goes, no. He said, go get whatever you want. He goes, I want to sign it for you for free. He said, but one stipulation, you can't keep it. You need to put it into your inventory. I said, all right, Ernie, you got a deal. So I had enough money in my pocket for 2 baseballs, man. I went, he said one of them HOF 1977, one of them Mr. Cub. And I ended up putting them into my inventory, what little inventory I had at the time, and I sold them. But it doesn't stop there, because he really like took a liking to me and took an interest to me. And he would call my house like, you know, 2, 3, 4 times a month. And hey, is Marc there? And like, we would just talk about random things. We talked about how school is, how my business is going, girls, you know, like everything like a father figure would do was awesome. And what happened was my dad traveled a lot when I was a kid. So he had all these frequent flyer miles. So when the big nationals would come, I mean, I got to go to Houston, Chicago, Atlantic City, Baltimore, like all the big shows. and Ernie Banks was always there signing autographs. So he'd take me in the back, introduce me to other, whether it be Hall of Famers or current players or athletes, celebrities, agents, promoters, like, and that's kind of how I started like the marketing end of it. And like, just like anything else, man, the best advertisement is word of mouth. If somebody hears something good about you from somebody, a reputable source, then you're usually good as gold, you know? And that's kind of how I got started in this entire thing.
Wow. So okay. So if we're going back to 1991, that was kind of really, it's going to sound crazy, but
there was like five options. You had literally you had Tops, Donruss, Score, Fleer, Upper Deck, and Tops, Donruss, Score, Fleer, Upper Deck. Yeah.
Yeah. That was really kind of the last big boom, like what we saw over the last couple of years. What did you do from a business standpoint? Because you got in kind of like during a hot time, you know, once we got to like 95 to 2000, how did you adapt? Part of the reason why I'm asking this is because we don't really know what's coming for our market. I mean, it's different now. It's way different. I mean,
sure.
the internet, Fanatics, it's way, way different. But what could be similar is that, you know, recession or just tough economy or whatever, like, how did you kind of adapt over that, like 5, 6, 7 years kind of coming off, you know, to be able to carry on?
Sure. Now there was a lot of stuff going on. So like you mentioned, there were a ton of different components that went into things. Like, so I started in 91. Well, in 94, there was a baseball strike. And like everybody hated the players. They didn't want anything to do with them. They're greedy, you know, like nobody wanted, and everyone stopped collecting for the most part. And at that time, they realized how mass produced, I think, that late 80s and early 90s stuff really was, how much of it's really out there. And it just kind of like not really went away, because I like to say once a collector, always a collector, but people kind of had a bad taste left in their mouth. Some people bought into the hype and they were buying what everybody else was buying, the Greg Jeffries and the Kevin Mosses and guys like that, who didn't pan out to anything, but everybody else was buying them. And I've seen the same thing happen here the last couple of years with Zion and RJ Barrett and these guys who don't know who people are, but they're just buying into the hype. So basically what I did in that time, I transitioned from, I'd go from cards to doing autograph signings and appearances and stuff like that, and to compensate the one that was, you know, a little less at the time. Now coming in, fast forward to 2020, to the pandemic, it was switched because we couldn't do public appearances. We couldn't do autograph signings. So we went heavy back into the cards.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, my question regarding your background with all these athletes, celebrities, you know, and we had the Burbank show last weekend. LA is it's a massive city with a lot of unique elements that you can't really find in other cities. How much of this journey that you've been on do you think is tied to the fact that you're here in Southern California, or what are the ways that maybe you've gone down this rabbit hole in a certain way that you may not have gone down if it was someone else? And then we'll talk a bit about the hobby now in Burbank and just
sure.
You know,
I think it's a great question, because you're right. Being here in Southern California, like Rob always says, it's the epicenter of the hobby. Like, I really agree with that. Like, we are saturated with weekly shows and trade nights and different shops. Like we're lucky to have all that stuff here, where people, you know, Midwest, East Coast, they don't have that stuff. But as far as California goes, like, we're really lucky to have all the stuff that we have, like, on a daily basis. And it helped me a lot too, because like you said, it's the entertainment capital of the world. We did stuff like that. We deal a lot with the older Dodgers and a lot of retired players. So that makes it work here too. But yeah, it's been a fun ride.
Hey, well, tell us a bit about your business, your shop. So you're in Rancho Cucamonga.
Yeah. Right? But I have a warehouse that we're actually, you know, in the process of getting rid of, because during the pandemic, we learned that, like, I don't need that. I have a nice home office set up. It's where I am now. And it works. But yeah, so we do, I mean, I'm at every show. We do our Instagram heavily. You guys who follow me on there, like, can watch my day, like, as it progresses. And some people say, man, there's too many stories, but you can see exactly what I'm doing. And I just like to be transparent with everybody and show people what's out there and give them the opportunity. There's so many opportunities out there, but some people, you can tell them exactly where to go, what to buy, how to do it. And like that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, is so true, because some people just don't have it in them to do it.
For sure. You know, look, there's guys like Coleman, who I'll see later tonight, actually, who spends a lot of his time at Burbank finding cards, several times per week, and then he'll go grade, he'll go flip, he'll go to other shows. I don't know if they have the same type of setup in other cities where you spend so much time during the day doing deals with cards. I don't know if they have the setup. I don't know if they have the demographics that have a flexible schedule, because here in LA, no one really works a 9 to 5. What's your day-to-day like? Like, what is your typical day? Is it sourcing deals? Is it listing online? Do you have
the
a team
majority?
for that?
Exactly. So the majority of the time is sourcing, because in this business, if you own a deli or something and you need to order, your turkey, your ham, your salami, you could call somebody and you can go order it and they'll have it to you. Like, what it's going to cost you. This changes daily. So like, there's not really a wholesaler that we can go to be like, hey, I need 10 89 Griffey PSA 10s. You know what I mean? Like, we need to go find that stuff and source it ourselves. And I do a lot more other things as well as cards. Like, we do a lot of just different kinds of collectibles, vintage toys, antiques, all that type of stuff as well, because you just never know what's going to happen, so you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket kind of thing.
Now, have you just built up kind of that, you've been doing it for a long time. So are you kind of a go-to to where if someone is selling a collection or they're selling kind of, are you kind of a first call for a lot of people, and that's how you're able to?
I'm very lucky with that. Seriously, I get calls every day from people selling, and I don't take that for granted. Like, I appreciate everyone that continues to do business with us, but there's a reason, I mean, I was raised.
You have to earn that. So
I was raised to treat people how you want to be treated, and it's not that hard. I see it at shows sometimes, and I just sit back and I said, man, like, this guy's brand new in the industry. He's not giving this guy the time of day. Like, that's not a good look for anybody.
And so, look, you mentioned that you have collectibles. I see there's memorabilia, at least in your office. Yeah. What are you seeing now? Because this market, this hobby has shifted so many times. It's this card, then now it's this card, and then now it's this. Memorabilia and collectibles are just kind of intertwined, because if you're interested in one, there's a good chance that you'll be interested in another. What is it that you're seeing now? What are a lot of the calls about? Whether people are looking to sell to you? Wow, a lot of people are looking to sell this to me, or I'm getting a lot of inquiries if I have any of this. Like, what's popping up
right now? A lot of people are selling. I mean, I think a lot of people kind of overextending themselves during the pandemic when they're getting that little bit of extra money, if they were getting it. And I think that they really overextended themselves, and they bought in at the wrong time. So now when they go to sell, they're pretty much upside down on a lot of stuff. And that's not good. But you know what? Like, if you're going to continue to collect, there's certain things. It's like dealing with like stocks, if you're in for the long haul, you know what? Sell it, take that loss, reinvest it into something in today's current market, make that 15, 20, 30% on it, and move on. But if you keep sitting on the same card that just continues to drop daily, like, it's not doing you any good.
I think too, and for me, I've also been looking at kind of what I've bought over the last few years and really assess, like, how much do I love this particular thing, and do I really want this? And then I'll just say, and then I'll move it. And it might be something where I might be down on it, I might be up on it, but it's more of just like, do I really care about this? And then trying to move into things that I really care about. Did I kind of FOMO into something along the way, and now I'm kind of like, this doesn't really suit me anymore.
No, it's so true. And I don't know if you guys know who Darren Rovell is. He used to be on ESPN. He does Action Network, and he follows me on Instagram. And like, during the pandemic, I was really stressing to people because I saw so many new people in the industry. And something that I stress like every day, people got sick of hearing me say it, which I ended up trademarking it because of Darren. Like, he got it all taken care of. But it's buy what you like. Because if you like it, no matter what the internet tells you it's worth, it's always going to have value to you. There's stuff behind me in these showcases that don't have a ton of value, but it brings back, childhood memories or good memories to me that I like it. So I bought it. And I don't care. I'm not checking it every day to see if it's going up or going down. And I think, Brad, you mentioned about the memorabilia end of it. And I think there's so much potential. I know you bought a Mike Tyson signed glove. So 2011 and 2012, I traveled with Mike for 2 years. We did all his appearances with him, me and my buddy Sean Jacoby from American Icon Autographs. We did all his appearances, and we traveled with him, and it was crazy. Like, it was a really good time. There was a lot of stuff going on. Like, you wouldn't believe the stuff that would happen. Like, as you can imagine with Iron Mike. But it was a good time. But something that I was talking about last week, the memorabilia, I think, is so it's like not appreciated as much as it could be. So if you have a signed Mike Tyson card, Brad, and the cheapest Tyson card, say maybe a Leaf card might be 150, $200, okay? And you have that up on your mantle and people come in and you have that glove sitting there, which was probably less than that if I had to guess, okay? What is the average person going to be flocked to? They're going to be flocked to they're going to go to the glove. Oh, you have a Dynamite Kid signed glove, like that's awesome. Or Kid Dynamite. And it's like you put the card next to it and you put the glove next to it. People who are into the cards are checking every day. Did the card go up? Did the card go down? Did you put that or a framed jersey you hang up a framed jersey? You're going to look at it. You're going to love it. People are going to come in. They're going to admire it. You have a card in a box. They're going to say, what is that? And it's usually like 2 to 3 times cheaper than the price of the card,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because, when I went to the show, and we'll talk a bit about the Burbank show and what your takeaway was. And it was, I'm going everywhere and it's cards everywhere. So anything that's not just straight cards stands out by default. So I did see some 1800s type of card / prints of something. Maybe there was comics or toys somewhere, but when I was walking through, I saw Donald, who runs the Show Locator on Instagram, a really great guy. He's the guy that actually got me that Tom Brady jersey last season or the season before? It's 2020, I believe. He got me a Tom Brady jersey just for shouting out his Instagram a couple of times. And I saw him there with all of these Mike Tyson gloves, and it just stuck out so much because, big red boxing glove, and it's a bit blurry, so you can't see it. The autograph is quite good. It's a good autograph.
Oh, it's awesome.
And it is PSA. You can't really see it because I have the blur on, but it does. Yeah, there's the PSA right there. So it is PSA authenticated or whatever else. And I'm going to get a case for it. However, it stuck out. And it was so funny because next to Donald was this other person selling cards. And I was hearing him talk to someone about the price of the card. And I think he said $1,500, $1,800. And I realized this after the fact that when he had mentioned this number, it served as like a price anchor in my head, because when I was looking at these gloves, they were all listed at $135 each. And I go, wow, $135 when I'm hearing this card that no athlete touched. It's not a piece of the jersey. And if it is a piece of jersey, it's probably just a piece of random material that they didn't even wear. And the number is so high. And then yet this big red glove that I could display for the next 10 years was $135. It just seemed like a bargain. And so not only did I get one, but the guy, Ryan, who I went with, who is a sports agent, and if you follow me on Instagram, you might see a couple of posts with me and him. He got one as well because it just seems so cheap and such a great display piece. So it's not apples to apples, but in terms of a display piece. And I will say this is not going to be popular, but I will say this as a single guy, if a girl is making her way into my bedroom, what do I feel more safe about her looking at? Probably the Mike Tyson glove than the sports card. Just saying. Because she would probably say, "Oh, that's really cool," versus, "Wait, you collect cards? What's going on here?" And I don't want to have to explain myself.
I really like if you're talking about cards and memorabilia, I really like the auto inscriptions. And what made me think of it in part was I'm just looking at the picture that you have behind you, and it looks like Mike Tyson wrote you like a novel on it.
He did. He only did 5 of these, and they took him about like 30 to 40 minutes a piece to do.
But that's the stuff that's really damn cool. And if you can also get it to where, maybe it says like, "Hey, Mark," which is cool if it says that. But if it's just something where it's like a motivational quote or something on it, like I have this is I don't know if it's going to focus. Okay. But I have this like Nolan Ryan auto, which Nolan Ryan signed a ton of stuff, but he wrote in how many Ks, how many strikeouts.
Yeah.
It's just a little thing.
I love the inscriptions on all that stuff. I think it adds tremendous value. Tell you a funny story about this one behind me. When we're doing it, I had everything written out, like what I wanted him to sign and how I wanted him to do it. And I said, "Okay, champ, so here we're going to put Michael Gerard Tyson." And he goes, "What's Gerard?" And I go, "Oh, I'm sorry, champ. Like on Wikipedia, it said that's your middle name, He's like, "Oh, yeah, Mark, it is." He goes, "How do you spell it?" So that's pretty cool. But it says Michael Gerard Tyson, like full name. Kid Dynamite, all the stuff, all of his names, his achievements, accomplishments, everything like that. And then he signed to Iron Mike on the bottom. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's the type of stuff where you would think that, if someone's going to pay a couple $1,000,000 for a logo man card that's got a couple of, a few random jerseys patch, from like a random, from a season, sometime
Right.
during a season, it's like the evolution of that would be like what you have on your wall right there. That to me, like if someone's going to pay huge money for something like that, where he did 5 of them, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
I don't even know if he'll do inscriptions anymore. He might do like Hall of Fame, but that's it.
Yeah. Either way, I feel like there's a lot of, and we talked about this years ago with I think Power Sports Memorabilia, who we're talking about where memorabilia and cards overlap and where they separate, and there is memorabilia with numbers or like numbered memorabilia. There are things like that, but I would imagine with Fanatics it would just merge and hopefully get a lot better.
Sure.
And at least the cards get better, so it's not the
Right.
Scotch tape autographs and the jerseys that have nothing to do with the actual player, because then it's just silly. But let's talk a bit about the show, just because this was definitely hyped up as a big show for Southern California. It was a 3-day show, which is pretty rare because a lot of times we just have plenty of 1-day, 2-day shows here. And so
I didn't see a lot of content on it. I was looking on YouTube thinking it was going to be like the national type content, and I just couldn't find it. I mean, there was stuff here and there, vlog type stuff, but
right. See, and what's funny here is we were talking about, hey, isn't there like the East Coast National going on? And like we didn't see any content out here, like on the East Coast National or anything like that, or or even like there was a show in Denver also. But my feed was full of the Burbank Sports Card Show, and Rob, EJ, Jay, they did a hell of a job. When I was talking to EJ about 2 or 3 weeks before the event, I said, dude, like you guys have already outgrown yourself. He goes, how do you know, Mark? You haven't even seen the convention center. I said, dude, just with the publicity that this show is getting right now, you guys have outgrown it.
Oh, for sure. So what was your expectation going in? And then let's just talk about day one, because I'm assuming you were there for all 3 days.
I was there I was there Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was at all the trade nights, everything.
So being in the hobby as long as you have, being in Southern California as long as you have been, what did you expect of this show? And then let's just start there.
So I expected, because I saw the list of vendors who were coming in, and that's great because we, like I had mentioned before, we have so many local shows every week. The problem with those local shows is the vendors don't have enough time to switch out their inventory. So you go to the show, you see the same things. I don't know how much optic, prism, select, mosaic you can see like in one room, but like to me that's not even the stuff that I really go after. So it was like basically the stuff that people would open, pandemic times, they'd get it at Walmart or Target, and they'd be able, and they have all this singles of, like I said, the prism, optic, mosaic, select, Donruss, all that stuff. So what I expected to see and what I did see was something totally different, a wide variety. There was something for everybody. Burbank brought out, almost 1 million quarter cards alone. So you could get stuff for as low as like a quarter, and you can get stuff up to like probably I'd say I saw a card, I think it was like $480K in the room. So there was something there for everyone. Something that really popped that I had no idea would get the response like this. I know Jeremy did something. I was able to get a kind of a sneak peek preview like at their facility, but the tag grading booth was crazy the entire show. It was nonstop, and they were just kind of showing people their, how they do things, and it blew me away, like how many people were just around them the whole time.
Yeah, I think that was their coming out party, was tags, the first thing, and it was a nice display. I did the walkthrough with them, and it was a very nice walkthrough in terms of what they're offering. Very innovative. I think not knowing much about tag, being a fan of Jeremy, being a friend of his, but not knowing much about the company, just the innovation will force other grading companies to not rest on their heels. I know that, because anytime you see innovation and you see computerized grading, and if it can execute, it will challenge the status quo. So at the minimum, that's what I see. But they did a couple things that I really liked, and let's keep going on the show. Though, what would you like to have seen differently, or what's something else that you would look forward to next show?
Bigger floor plan. because there was a lot of people in those rooms. And you know what? I mean, I know that they have one more show at that location and they're going to make it work. They're already in the talks of making it, bigger and spread out with more tables. And I think that's what I would have liked to have seen. But as far as like the stuff that was there and the people who were there, I thought it was an amazing selection of cards and some memorabilia. And I thought it was a very well done show, very well run show. I know people had to wait in line, but that's beyond the promoter's control. It takes a lot of work to put a show like that on. And I think a lot of people don't realize or even appreciate what goes into doing something like that. It doesn't just happen overnight. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. You have to get permits from the city. You have to do all this. So when they say, when the city comes and says that you're at capacity, you have to follow the rules.
Yeah, especially when it's in California and there's a lot more rules here than in other states.
My God.
I will say this though. Yeah. I'm so glad I went Friday because it was mid-afternoon Friday, 1 p.m. And I was like, all right, I'll come Friday, then maybe come back Sunday. And then when I saw online that there was a line wrapped around the hotel on Saturday, like up to 3-hour wait or something like that, I'm like, oh, thank God I went on Friday. But that's the problem that any show wants to have is we need it to grow bigger because the demand exceeded the supply of space. So that's the challenge that any show, any event planner, anyone that puts on a concert wants to have is, hey, we got more people interested than we can handle. And this was not the end all be all. This is literally show number one.
This is a stepping stone for something bigger and better. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so one thing I will say though, with the floor plan and the amount of people in there, please wear deodorant, please shower, please wear deodorant.
Sasha was giving away free deodorant at his booth.
Was it? No.
Yeah, he had little cans of deodorant and he said free on them to everyone at the show.
I had no idea. That's hilarious. But there were moments in there that I was like, okay, this is this. So the card budget is cutting into the hygiene, the basic toiletries budget.
I think something that I was really impressed with also was on Sunday. If you guys have been to bigger shows before, 3-day shows, Fridays and Saturdays is packed all the way to the end. So there was a trade night on Friday night, a trade night on Saturday night that went till 2-3 in the morning. Okay, then people got up and got right back at it again. But on Sunday, I looked down at my watch. It's 3:00, and there might have been one empty table, 2 empty tables in the entire room. Everybody was still there. Place is packed. Normally by noon on a Sunday, shows are dead. And this place, I mean, they'd probably still be there right now trading stuff if they let them.
Well, and I would say real quick, and we'll get your opinion, Dustin, on this because not being from SoCal, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Because there's so many local vendors, it's not like, well, I have a flight at 3 p.m. on Sunday. I think a lot of people, it's, hey, I have an hour and a half drive, which is, okay, that means you could stay Sunday for the show. And I'm sure vendors did not have to pay nearly as much to set up. Hopefully it was a pretty reasonable cost versus Dallas or versus the National where, that's a lot of money to invest.
Sure.
That kind of speaks to the local demand that you guys have there to where how many people really flew in for that show? Probably not a lot. It's probably a lot of local people. And like you said, Brad, there's people that are within hour, 2-hour drive. It's kind of similar to the National in Atlantic City where people are kind of worried about like, who's going to come, to Atlantic City? Well, there's just a ton of East Coast people that are in New York and New Jersey and Connecticut that are like, Boston area that'll just drive there, So I think the fact that they probably, I don't have any of the numbers obviously, but I doubt a lot of East Coast people didn't fly across for that show, for this one.
Believe it or not, there was a lot of people from out of state that flew in East
Were
Coast.
They East Coast?
Yeah, and they flew in right to Burbank, which was great. They were able to get in there and do all that. It's just it's so easy. It's so convenient. And these promoters thought of that, when they booked the venue. It's literally across the street from Burbank Airport. You fly right in.
Oh, okay.
Was it 500 per table? Was that the vendor?
I think it was 500 per table. Yeah.
Okay, so that's more than Dallas according to Serious Drama. Is that correct?
I'm not. I think Dallas might be a little less than that.
Okay, all right. So I wasn't sure what this setup would be, but okay. Either way, it looks like there's way more supply than necessary for people to make that investment. But I wasn't sure because it was smaller. Maybe it'd be a lower setup fee. for the
I
next
was
show.
surprised too. The sponsor list was robust. I mean, you had like pretty much, I think there was like a dozen companies that were really kind of like the who's who of hobby. You know, I mean, eBay was there, and I mean, for them to kind of, and I don't know how long the planning was for this, and maybe it's been planned for months and months, 6 months, 9 months or something. I hadn't heard anything of it though, so I kind of got the feeling like maybe they had planned it fairly quickly. But it was really, I was just shocked by, you know, kind of their sponsor list and everything else. It was pretty awesome.
Well, I think what's going to happen now is the people who weren't able to get in to this last show. I mean, there's already a waiting list for the next show, I assume. And I mean, the people were so bummed. I saw people walking around being like, "Damn, I really should have set up at this show. It's an amazing show. These guys did a great job." And they're right. And people feel like they missed out, you know? So I think the next one, like I said, this is really a stepping stone for something bigger and better for the Burbank Card Show.
And the other thing I was going to mention too, in terms of sponsors, we have PSA that is 35 minutes away from LA, Central LA. We have Whatnot, who has their headquarters in Marina Del Rey, and they were there. Tag, the new grading company, that they were out of LA. Are there any other? And then we have big card shows as well.
Beckett was there from Dallas.
Yeah, Beckett was there. Cards and Coffee had a pretty big display as well for a card shop chain. They had a pretty big display, and the first locations here in Hollywood. I mean, like there's a lot of money, there's a lot of media, so of course you're going to have bigger budgets, and you're going to have a lot of people with ties to LA. So I don't know if that has a big part of it, but it's just very easy for people to justify having a setup in a big show in Los Angeles, especially because there aren't many big shows. This is the biggest one I've heard of. There are only medium-sized shows that happen all the time. But
my question too, though, is I'm sure there's other people watching this and thinking like, why aren't we throwing a giant show in LA? Because if you think about it, like Burbank, obviously they have a huge shop and they've got resources in this. But if you think about it, like I'm sure there's people there that were like, damn, this is slammed.
You remember what I said before about leading a horse to water, but you can't make it drink? It's not that easy to do a show of that magnitude.
No. I'm not saying that it would be easy. All I'm saying is there's probably show people though that maybe do other shows, or they do, whatever, and they, could get involved if they wanted to. Yeah, no, I'm not saying like some average, the average Joe.
No, it's
throw a show.
It's a lot to put on an event like that, for sure.
So my question is this: I was hoping this would be a great show because I don't want to go further than I have to go to shows. Really, like I mean, I'd rather the national. Well, I mean, the other thing too is, living in Southern California, it's pretty sweet if you like the outdoors and certain things and going out. So to go to Atlantic City of all places, that's just like, are you kidding me? That sounds like a nightmare. However, the closer anything on the West Coast can be, the better for someone that lives on the West Coast. Where I think the National is tied up for what, like another couple of years? It's already planned in a couple? Okay, so do you feel, in your estimation, that there is room for another show of the equivalent size as the National is in the hobby right now that would be on the West Coast? Have you heard any discussions around, hey, we need something bigger that competes with the National, maybe 6 months apart type of thing? Is that just things that people would like to think of, but no one's really taken action on?
No, absolutely. A lot of people have talked about it. So the last time the National was here in Anaheim was 2006. And this last National, they voted in some new people. There's some new blood on the board of the National. And like you said, they are booked for the next couple of years. But after that, I really think there's a good possibility that it might come back to the West Coast. And to answer the second part of your question, SoCal in itself could support a bigger show like the one that we just saw. Like you have the Burbank show that just happened. You have the one that the Union Marketplace does down in San Diego, Del Mar, which is another awesome show in California. Those two shows alone, like people come from far, far away just to participate in those shows.
So where would you have, I mean, I have my spot of where I would want the National based on a lot of things, and it's kind of biased, but it's not LA. Okay. Where would you say the perfect place for the Nationals, out of all the Nationals you've gone to? Maybe it's a place that exists, maybe it's a place that hasn't happened yet. What would you say would be the city that you would love to see it at for the good of the hobby?
The city for the good of the hobby, Chicago, hands down. It's the best. I feel it's the best market. It's centrally located. People can get in there. O'Hare is close to the Donald Stevens Center in Rosemont. Right there, it's literally like a 5-minute Uber, and you're there. I think Chicago is the ideal place, but if you're going to do a bigger show in Southern California, I would say probably Anaheim Convention Center, just because you get the San Diego, the Los Angeles, they collide, kind of meet up in Anaheim, and it's got a lot of hotels, a lot of stuff to do. People could bring their families for that if they wanted to, and I like parking. Parking's not really an issue there either, so they have a lot of parking. I think to have a big show, you got to have parking. People don't want to walk 3 miles carrying a briefcase like you're a moving target, carrying a briefcase of cards just to get into a show. You know,
I think you had said it too, Mark, on when you were on with Jeremy Lee with a bunch of people. But I just hope that they just do the national in Chicago every single year, and just let these other shows just prosper in other places. And then people can, if you want to go to Dallas, you go to Dallas. You want to go to LA, go to LA, whatever. Yeah. Because like Chicago is hands down. I mean, like you've got all those hotels right across the street. It's so damn easy.
Yeah.
And it just makes sense. Just have it there, and then let all these other shows. Look at all the other shows that are just coming up out of nowhere. You got like the Midwest Monster. You got like all the, I'm sure they'll probably have a giant Orlando show at some point. I mean, it's going to happen.
There are a ton of shows everywhere.
I think, Dustin, you said the word damn twice in one live stream. Is that correct? Is that a record?
Yeah. Do we have to censor that out? Can we edit? Oh, it's live. We can't edit.
No, sorry. I will say this. I'm a big advocate of Vegas because I think the flights are cheap. The city is fun, whether you gamble or not, whether you just want to go and see shows, walk around. I think Vegas is the perfect compromise. It is more on the West Coast, but I believe the flights are quite cheap all over the country because of the casinos and wanting to bring people in. So I would love to see the National in Vegas one year. And that's that's reasonable for someone in Los Angeles to drive or fly. But anyway, I want to move on just because you have so much knowledge, and I'm sure you have a lot of really great conversations with people in the hobby that are on a complete different level than us, who, we hear the news, we talk about it, but you're really in the day to day. So from your perspective and all the people that have card shops that have been in the hobby so long, what would you say the consensus is on Fanatics taking over? Is there concern? Is there optimism? I mean, you got to be like, giving like some sort of nice answer, but what's like the real?
Obviously there's a ton of concern. People don't like change. I think, and the shop owners are worried about their like distributions and stuff like that. But as far as that goes, I think what Fanatics is going to do at the end of the day for the hobby is going to be amazing. Like, you're going to go to a game. You already see Fanatics everywhere, but there might be like a Mike Trout wall catch card, like on the wall in Anaheim Stadium with a card of him. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to bring people back. It's going to get cards out there. It's going to get memorabilia back out there to people like who don't normally get to see it. Like, you're going to see cards in 7-Elevens now, and like the guy might walk up and he might be like, I used to collect baseball cards. Let me buy a pack. And it's going to bring more people into the hobby. I really feel like it's, at the end of the day, it's going to be a good thing. I think the transition might be tough on a lot of people, though.
Is there communication? Is it like, hey, don't worry, guys, we're going to take care of you? Or are they reaching out to the owners, the other people that you've heard of, whether it's yourself or others, or is everyone just kind of left in the dark? Like, hey, I've been doing this for 30 years and it's been great the last couple of years, but we also have worked on these systems for a long time. And we've scaled up and we've done all these things. Is there any communication or idea?
I think they're basically just telling people to be patient and wait. Like, it's going to happen. Good things are going to happen. Like, they're pushing it like that. And I think people want to know what's going to happen. This is a lot of people's livelihood, and this is what they do. And if they're getting cut out of different things, like, they need to be prepared for that so they can get into something else. And I understand the frustration and the concern, but I really feel that at the end of the day, it's going to be a good move for the entire industry / hobby.
I 100% agree. So there hasn't been any like, hey, don't worry, you guys will be taken care of it. It's just more just like kind of just keeping it hush.
Nobody really knows right now.
Okay. Got it.
Mark's like, I've got 19 voicemails at the Fanatics headquarters, but we're going to get that call back. We're getting that call back.
They're calling.
What's something that you've been hearing might be coming up? I'm sure there are a lot of rumors or something, but is there anything that you're excited about or something that maybe let's just say you'd like to see between now and the end of the year, based on the discussions you've been having, or anything in the hobby that really irritates you that you'd love to see change in the last?
There's a lot of that stuff, but I want to keep it here. Like, I think that people need to stay within their means through the next couple months. Like, don't overextend yourself. There's no deal good enough to put your family, like risk your family, risk personal finances, anything like that. I see a lot of people over leveraged right now. I see people still trying to like tread water and stay in it. It's okay to take a break from collecting. It's okay. Once a collector, always a collector, but you don't have to do it 24/7. There's more to life than collecting. And I think a lot of people like need to realize that. But as far as where the hobby's going, the hobby's not going anywhere. Prices might be changing, but the hobby's not going anywhere.
Even with prices changing, I thought it was a good thing, because I mean, look, it's not good if you have those cards and they've gone down in value, which I think a lot of us have experienced, including myself. But when a good card now becomes affordable, as in it's not just a base or a Prism Silver, but it's actually a rarer card, it's a color match, it's something, and it's a PSA 10, and it's only $80 instead of $450. It's cool, because now something that's cool is now within your budget versus it just being an investment only, or you have to over leverage yourself, or it's just on your wish list. So
exactly.
To me, I think that makes it so that more people can enter, because now 50 people can afford that card because it's cool versus only 5 people. It just sucks if you had that card at the high price and it's gone down. But overall, for getting people in, when I look at, that's the issue I've had, is I look at cards at these shows and I'm like, oh, that's cool. $1,800. I'm like, no, I can't justify $1,800 for something I like that. That's why the Tyson glove at $135.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Like, I actually got a deal for $120 on it, because both of us bought it. So $120, I'm like, that's I can do, right? Now other people that might be expensive for, and then maybe an $1,800 card for others, that's not a big deal. But for me, I'm like, now I have to look at the numbers. I have to look at, is it going to go up or down? Because it can't go down to $900 and me be okay with it based on that price and where I'm at. But if the prices are lower to the point where, hey, I just like that, and it doesn't matter so much. I didn't look up the comps on a Tyson glove. I didn't look on eBay to see what they sold for, what's a good price. I just thought that was a good price for something I could display in a corner for the next 10 years. Like, that's the way I thought about it.
And people are going to love it when they see it. It's going to be a conversation piece for $120.
Yeah. That's
$120. And here's the thing. If that glove goes down to 0, which it'll never be 0, you're out $120.
Or then I just use it. I take it to boxing class.
There you go. See? It could happen. But I think right now, like you talked about the Mickey Mantle sale before, $12 million. That's a lot of money. But what did that do? It brought people back into the business. Anytime it gets anything promoted like that, and it gets TV time and all over the internet, and people see it, they go, oh wow, Mickey Mantle card just over $12 million. My uncle collected cards. I wonder if he has it. Well, he may not have that, but he may have other Mickey Mantle cards. There was a spike on other Mickey Mantle cards last week because that one, so the 52 sold for so much. But you can buy low-grade vintage original copies of cards at a fraction of the price. And I think if you just want to own like an original card, that's the way to go. If you like it, buy it.
Yeah, I will say in terms of this, I don't know if it's real or fake, but I will say it is Rittenhouse, the sticker, unless they sold that, and then the PSA sticker. So on this one specifically.
No, that's Fitterman.
Fitterman, sorry. Yeah, I knew it was
good as gold. That's good as gold.
Yeah,
Fitterman, Ryan has the exclusive with Tyson.
Okay, so that's all I can show you. And if it is fake, in spite of all that, then let me live in my naivety. It's ignorance is bliss. Yes, absolutely.
That's as good as gold right there, man.
Very cool. Okay, Dustin, why don't you ask a question or so I can take a break?
Well, yeah, no, actually, before we came on, we were kind of asking, not necessarily like what's a value, but you had mentioned kind of something I thought was a good take, and it was lower grade vintage stuff. Because there's a lot of talk about vintage kind of, oh, it's very expensive and this and that. And of course, yes, if you're buying PSA 10 mantles and whatever, but you had used an example, I would think maybe like a 3 or a 4 or something like that, to where a lot of that stuff is still affordable for vintage stuff or, modern stuff as well. But for people that are looking into, different, or like, that safer vintage stuff that supposedly
Vintage, I think, is very safe, especially at the price of some of the stuff's at. I mean, people are paying tens of thousands of dollars for somebody who's never even stepped on a court, stepped on a field, and never played in the pros. And you can buy Hall of Famers and retired legends, GOATs, man, for, so much less. Guys who are established. And that's why I just think like that low grade vintage has a lot of potential, to gain value over the years.
Do you think that there's something, would you say baseball, or because like part of me is like, especially at the National, when I was looking at baseball, it just felt like when I'm looking at Mantles, I'm like, everybody's here buying Mantles. Like these have to, like, I doubt these are, this is not cheap historically compared to like where they've been, obviously, even like if we're looking back at 2020 or whatever. But like, what about other sports, whether it be like football or basketball? Have you found like pockets that make sense, or soccer or something else?
I have. Now, I know soccer's big. I haven't got into really the soccer, the F1 market personally, because I don't like to dabble into things that I really don't know. So I know baseball, basketball, football very well. I will tell you this, that there has been an increase in pricing on vintage football. For years, it was so cheap. Vintage basketball the same way. Some of these guys are starting to get the respect they deserve. I mean, if you think about who are the last living legends in sports right now. So you go to like baseball, I would say baseball, maybe Willie Mays and Sandy Koufax, right? Basketball, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Football, Jim Brown. Like you can still obtain something of those guys like for a reasonable price. And I think, once they're gone, I'm not saying play like the death pool or anything like that, but I mean, that's unfortunately what happens is once they're gone, that's when everybody goes after the stuff to buy. Like, don't wait till it's too late. Like, get it now.
Yeah, no, I like that way of looking at it. Even when I bought my my Shaq autographed giant memorabilia thing, when I was talking to someone in the shop, they were saying like, that's why I like buying Dennis Rodman autos, because he's such a wild guy that you just never know what's going to happen to him. And it's like a kind of sad way of looking at it, but it's kind of like cruel and smart at the same time. But yeah,
and I mean, I can remember when John Wooden passed away, we must have gotten like 5 or 6 calls the next day. Hey, do you have any John Wooden signed stuff? I said, man, so let me tell you something. We have thousands of autographs signed by other people who are going to die one day. Like, why don't you grab one of them?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Like,
it's like the Bill Russell push. It's like Bill Russell's been there, like all that stuff is there. I almost bought a really nice flawless auto for a Bill Russell at the National. This is like the day before. I wasn't thinking of it from that standpoint. But it was one of those things where like the guy had a price on it. We almost had to trade it in place, and he's like, you know what? I think I'm just going to hold out and see if I can get cash for it. And I was like, no problem. It was priced well. And I came back 30 minutes later. I was going to offer him some more cash, and it was gone. It was gone.
It had, but you know what, man? It just wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. Yeah. Like you'll get one eventually. And a lot of times, like Vin Scully, the legendary Dodger broadcaster, just passed away recently in the last month or so. And everyone was like, "Oh, this stuff's going to go through the roof." Well, like Brad was talking about before, with supply and demand. Everybody who had it put it on the market. There was not really a push. It actually went down a little bit compared to where it was before, because everybody threw it out there, tried to make that money. And then, there was a lot more supply than demand at that point.
I've mentioned it before just because it's so interesting. You have supply and demand of the card itself. You have supply and demand of how many are graded in that specific grade by that grading company. And then you have supply and demand on the specific platform at a given moment. So there's a lot of different supplies and demands working at the same time that could change, especially the ones that are being sold or listed right away, and then the amount of people looking through the listings. But I want to finish on a couple things. One, what's a bold prediction that you have? What is something, let's say in the next 365 days, something that will change the hobby? Like you have this Mickey Mantle record sale, you've had mergers, you've had big news being announced, is it a company going away, is it a big merger you feel is inevitable? What is something that in the next 365 days you believe will be happening that's not already planned to happen, but something that even if you don't think it'll happen,
That's okay.
like
No, I'll tell you real talk. Like you were talking about the vault. Now Beckett has her vault. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more vaults, and you're also going to see a lot more platforms that are very similar to Whatnot, because what they're doing over there is something that nobody's seen before. It's so user friendly. It's easy. You can sit on there and make money. You don't have to wait 3, 5, 7, or 10 days for your auction to end, and then with a chance of may not getting paid even. Like you can literally go on there and run 15, 20-second auctions and just do a ton of stuff. And I think eBay, there's a company called Drip. I think a lot more companies are going to start introducing a more Whatnot type platform, because they have to. They're going to have to, or they're going to lose everybody to Whatnot.
And if you see the numbers that Whatnot is doing, it's easy to see why.
They were just evaluated at $3.7 billion in Forbes.
It's crazy.
That's pretty huge.
And if you talk to some of the Whatnot sellers, you go, holy crap, I get it now. I get why other companies are saying, how do I mimic this? How do we do this but better? How do we add our touches on this platform? So it's interesting because, I feel like people did that with grading. Let's start our own grading company. Let's go after that. And this is just another one of those opportunities where one person, one company has the head start, has the technology, has the momentum, the audience, all that. And then others are saying, wow, we just got to get some market share because this is too good, too profitable. Yeah. And there are others. There's Card Shop Live that just came up and they're doing good things. There's Loop as well. And I'm not sure if that's the same thing, but I'm sure very similar. Yeah. I don't know if eBay did their live selling with DJ Ski, I think not too long ago.
eBay did a beta testing with their live. I talked to Jeff Juco this weekend, and he was saying that it's going to be coming out pretty soon. I mean, they have to. They're really going to have to. It's something totally different. The hobby hasn't seen before, and it's a good way for people to capitalize on the inventory that they have.
Awesome. I want to ask one more question. Dustin, do you have any final questions before I ask Mark the final one?
No, go ahead.
I want to say, what's your biggest wish? Whether it's an IP that doesn't exist in cards, whether it's something that would change. What is, like, if you could change one thing in the next year, if you were in charge of the entire hobby or had that power to bring a setback, to bring a whatever, what would it be?
I mean, it'd be for people to freaking treat people how they want to be treated. Honestly, it's something totally different. It's not a product, anything like that. It's something that every one of us can do, and it's not that hard. And I think if everybody did that in the hobby would be in a much better place. I really do. Everybody's looking for that edge. Everybody wants to make money. It's okay to make money, but don't crush somebody who's just getting into it, who doesn't know what they're doing. And like, it's just going to leave a bad taste in their mouth. And like, they're going to be out of the hobby in no time. Like, we don't want to see that. We want to see everybody thrive and everybody, staying in the hobby for a long time and pass it down generation to generation. That's how the hobby's going to continue.
Awesome, man. Very good. Well, guys, really appreciate you having Mark join us. Mark, I really appreciate you joining us. Guys, I really appreciate y'all in the chat. Dustin, thanks for sitting there and just not having your internet die for the last hour. That was great.
I slipped into a coma for the last 60 minutes. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I feel like I'm in a coma right now. I had so much food right before this. It's just digesting, taking all my blood. But how do we follow you best? Is it Instagram?
Instagram is where I do most of my content. I post stories like throughout the day, and that's at Ultimate Pastime, all one word.
Ultimate Pastime. Okay.
That's the best way to keep tabs on me.
And what are you actively looking to do? Is it selling your stuff? Is it you're buying from across the country? If someone wants to reach out, what would offer you the most value?
Absolutely. I mean, we're always buying. My license plate, I don't know if you can see it back here. It's back here. It said ALWSBYN. Always buying. That was an old car that I had. I don't know if you can see it or not. You see it?
There it is. Yeah.
It said always buying. So just to keep everything going, you got to keep buying, And
absolutely. Very cool. Well, guys, thanks so much, Mark. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys for having me on.
For sure. Hang on 1 second as I end this. We will see you guys next week. Make sure to pound that like button and then get on the newsletter that Dustin never promotes, even though he's half of the newsletter. The comebackcardinvestor.com or sportscarddad.com. You could enter your email, and then Dustin will talk to you in spite of not promoting it at all. See ya.
Thanks, guys.